What's funny is that as a woman myself, just turned 49, they talk about how your 20s, you care what everyone thinks. So your 30s, not so much. By your 40s, you don't care at all, but you are all about yourself, especially us female. And it's my favorite group of women because they don't care. They've become extremely resilient because of kids and elderly parents and spouses and all the things, and being a maybe having a job as well. All of these things are on their plate, and they're hard workers. They want to do the right thing. So you tell them the right thing to do, they'll do it and they'll get results. But the problem is they've been told all the wrong things. They're not getting results. They have no energy. They think it's their fault. They think they have no willpower, and it's not. It's a screwed up food system. It's a screwed up mentality, social media, all of that stuff telling us what we're supposed to look like. And you have all of these stressors. Also, let's talk about the fact that stress causes weight gain, and it has nothing to do with the morsels of food that you put in your mouth. So it's a great population, and I love that you tackle the mental side too, as well as the physical and the emotional. And that you're talking about healing the relationship of food with women,
Mhm.
because we're a lifetime of what are we supposed to look like. When I was a teenager, I was supposed to be super thin, no muscle, that wafy look. And now we're told that you want the butt. I've got two daughters, and they want their butt, and they've got a butt, and it's a great thing. And now muscle's a good thing for the younger population, but us
Mhm.
older women, it's still like, wait a second, I don't know what I'm supposed to look like. Actually, I just need to feel good, let alone, so your brain is going in 1,000 different directions. So first off, I want to touch on the steps to heal that relationship with food. And then we'll get in the different types of diets, what the myths are around them, why they don't work. But you know, we have had this lifetime of the food system and what we're supposed to eat, what we're not, non-fat, keto, vegan, paleo, and in the midst of all of it, 70% of our food system is processed now. So
Yep.
we're confused. So how do you heal that relationship with food?
Yeah. So, number one, on average, the daily calorie intake for a full grown woman should probably be between 19 and 2,400 calories, is what studies have shown. However, what I see from the women that come to me, so again, 40, 50, 60, and older, their average calorie intake is closer to 1,200.
Mhm.
So, on paper, we understand that if you're eating less calories than your body needs, you should be losing weight. If these ladies are eating 1,200 calories, they should have already lost all the weight or should currently be losing weight, but they're not. And number one, you hit the nail on the head earlier. Stress causes weight gain. Eating too little food for too long creates stress. As you create that stress and hold on to it, you gain weight, right? And so we're fighting backwards against multiple forces. So, number one, before I can even help somebody lose weight, I need to help them rebuild their metabolism and wake their body up and show their body that calories are fuel, right? They're not meant to be avoided, they're meant to be utilized. And so, step one for me is assessing where somebody is calorically, how much are they eating? Step two is going to be assessing where they need to be, where they should be in order to thrive rather than survive. And then step three is to bridge that gap, work them from where they are to where they need to be, and show their body that these calories are going to help them feel better, get that energy that you just said they're missing. And that's not always an easy process because, very
Mhm.
similar to what you said, Sarah, when you were in your 20s, maybe younger, maybe a little bit older, you were taught that you had to be thin and small and that you had to eat small amounts of food. And you're 49 now. You know better. I understand that. But so many of your listeners might not. And I don't blame them because it's something that's been pushed on them every day for decades.
Yeah.
Right. So we're working against a lot of forces here. But when somebody does realize they can eat more and the scale's not going to go up and their body might actually reshape in a positive way and they're going to wake up in a better mood with more energy, that's when things get really easy and really enjoyable.
So how do you get your women to trust you? Because for decades, they don't trust people like you. I mean, I just was talking to someone that eats maybe 1,000 calories a day, but she walks 8 miles a day. She does her
Wow.
Pilates. And so there is that exercise more, eat less, and eventually the bank is empty and you're
Yeah.
bankrupt, right? And there's no more money in the account. So you're not going to go to zero. You're not going to go to 0 pounds. Eventually, your body's going to say, hey, I need to survive. We're going to kick in those stress hormones, the reverse T3, shut down the metabolism, store as much fat as we can because we don't know when we're going to be fed. But so now the person's like, well, Joe, my metabolism isn't like all the other women you're talking about. I can't do what you're telling me to do. How do
Mhm.
you get them to trust you?
Yeah. That was really hard 7 years ago, 6 years ago, 5 years ago, when I had 0, 20, 100 testimonials. It's gotten easier now. I mean, we've changed over 1,000 lives. And so I can tell story after story of Jess and Teresa and Clarissa that were very similar to what you just described, right? They were eating, I mean, God, Client S, because those names I just made up, nobody's going to get mad because those are fake names. But Client S was eating 700 calories when she came to me. She was going to the gym 6 days a week, very similar to the persona that you just described. And no, her metabolism could not handle, and her body could not handle going to the 2,000 calories a day that she needed, right? If we went from 700 to 2,000, I guarantee you she would gain fat. But if we worked there slowly and we remove the stress from excess exercise and we recover better and we slow down, then the body will start to respond in positive ways, but it's not going to happen overnight. And so, oftentimes, what I'll say is I can't guarantee you what happens in a week or in 2 weeks. Some people's bodies, as they eat more food, feels better and will release inflammation and the scale will go down. Some people's bodies will simply maintain. You'll eat more food, you'll see no change physically, but mentally and internally you will feel better. And then some people, these are the unlucky ones, they're going to gain 5 pounds during this process. So instead of losing the 50 pounds that they came to me wanting to do, they now need to lose 55. But I level with them. And I express this right up front because I never want to mislead people. Say, hey, you know what? You might gain 5 pounds. And so now we have to lose 55 together. But if you could lose 55 pounds permanently and live where you want to live, would you be okay with a short term, temporary 5 pound scale gain? And when we put it that way and we're completely transparent, the answer is obvious. Yes, I would be okay with another 5 pounds because I've gained 5 pounds 10 times now, temporarily, if you can help me lose it all and keep it off for the rest of my life. And by the way, make that weight loss fat loss, not muscle loss, and
Right.
make sure I feel good during and after the process.
Right, and that is a huge key. I actually am about to be working with a company about with body composition scales, not the regular
Nice.
scales, because I personally have seen the scale go up and then do a body composition and actually see my fat go down and my muscle go up. So
Mm-hmm.
it was what I should want, but when you see just that number, you wonder what's really going on. And that's something that another thing for the last few decades, women just look at that scale. And that scale's made up of water. It's made up of PMS weight. It's made up of the moon cycle. The full moon and the new moon can make you constipated and retain water. It could be that you actually lifted weights and your muscles are inflamed and retaining a little extra juice to repair. There's so many things. There's the crackers that you ate late at night that are holding on to some extra water and it's not fat. So that is something else that we need to ditch. But that relationship with food. So you're talking about essentially reverse dieting, correct? As far as
Exactly.
what the way you're working with women. I'm assuming the foods are whole foods and not necessarily any processed foods to help the body trust true nutrition. Um, but with that, the relationship, the mental part. You talked about the fact that, are you okay with it, gaining an extra 5 pounds to lose the 55? But how do you connect the process of, I'm looking at this plate of food, it's way more than I used to eat. I'm looking at it not as the enemy, but as fuel for my immune system, my strength, my energy, my relationships, my hormones, which is a thing that now over 40, us women have to really consider when we didn't have to before.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to go back to one thing you said real quick. We are, of course, really prioritizing whole foods. There's a big difference between eating 1,900 calories worth of high quality meats or vegetables versus 1,900 calories of Twinkies and Swiss rolls, right? They're just not the same. Nobody can argue that. At the same time, I do want people to be people. So I want people to enjoy largely whole foods, real foods, natural foods. But sometimes, if it's my birthday, I'm going to go get a damn ice cream sundae. And if it's my client's birthday, I want them to have one too if that's what they want. But afterwards, I want them to get back on track. And what I find oftentimes is that allowing that makes it so they actually have less processed foods. Because when you're not constantly restricting yourself and then punishing yourself because you didn't restrict yourself, you feel better. And when you feel better, you're more in line with what you want. And when that happens, you just do the things that create the results. Now I got completely off track and I forgot your question.
As far as how you change that relationship with actually looking at that food and saying, this is good for me, this is fuel, this is for my hormones, my immune system, my strength, not the enemy.
Yeah, that's a tricky one, right? Because like we said, for so long, we've been taught that too much food is the enemy and carbs are the enemy. And a lot of times it's just trusting the process. It's showing what has helped other ladies in their position before, explaining that, look, you're really not that different. And if you can give me 7 days, 14 days of trust, you will see this for yourself. And it is scary. But again, we're not jumping from 700 calories up to 19. We're jumping from 700 maybe up to 850. And when we get to that 850 and nothing changes, they say, wow, he was right. Maybe I can eat a little bit more. And then when you go from that 850 up to 1100, the same thing's true. And by the time we get to 11, 13, 1400 calories, they're feeling better, they're looking different, and that trust is there. And so once we build that foundation of trust, it's much easier to make more changes later on.
Right. And for you women listening, I would challenge you to actually look at some of the other factors, not just the scale when you are increasing the calories and the protein, hopefully, is how's your hair feel? How does your skin look? How is the texture of your skin? How do you sleep? How are you waking up? What is your energy like in the gym or on that walk that you normally do and you're exhausted? To take into all of these other factors, not just the scale. I can tell you that as a woman, there was the intermittent fasting fad and still is a little bit, but I was easily, it took no effort for me to get down to one meal a day. I actually had to force myself when I started to eat a second and third meal a day. I had to force myself because the appetite wasn't there. When I did, and when I started increasing my calories, my metabolism went up. When you have more money in the bank, you're going to spend more money. When there's no money in the bank, you're not going to spend any money. So I am living proof that happened. And I am actually in a process right now where I am continually increasing my caloric intake, hoping to gain muscle and to move in that direction. And I'm sitting there going, oh my gosh, I've got to up the calories again. I've got to up the calories again. And my energy's great.